Welcome to episode 6 of A Thriving You, where it is a cozy space for all things mindset shifts, self growth, and stories that can level up your life. Now, in today's episode, I really want to talk about things that I wish I knew in my 20s. Now that I recently turned 31, I know that some people see birthdays as a negative thing, like, oh my gosh, you're getting older, you're aging, you're like closer to your deathbed. Like, okay, touch wood, let's not talk about those things. However, I tend to appreciate growing older just because think about it, like, hey, you made it to another year. That's freaking awesome, right? Like, seriously, you made it to another year. You get to live another day. You're breathing, you're alive, you're here. Like, that's freaking amazing. So I want you to really take a step back, appreciate the fact that you are alive, because honestly, being alive is a privilege. So let's talk about the things that I wish I knew in my 20s. And the first one is no one actually cares. And I'm not talking about like, oh, your family doesn't care about you, your partner doesn't care about you. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you are so afraid of people's judgments and opinions. And yeah, you can get judgments and opinions from other people, but at the end of the day, they don't really care about you. Sure, you may cross their minds for a few seconds or a few minutes out of their day, and after that, they kind of forget about it. Like, they are too busy with themselves. Whatever you do, the way you live your life, if people have opinions and judgments about it, that is their problem. It is not your problem. I think, in my 20s, I used to care so much about what people think of me. The way I look, the way I speak, the way I dress, the way I live my life, the way I do my job. The thing is, those opinions or judgments of people, whether they exist or not, because sometimes I have this tendency to assume and make up things in my head, that it becomes a resistance or a friction that I cannot move forward with my life. Because there are times where I feel like I want to pursue something, but because I'm afraid of people's judgments and opinions, or people already give me their opinions and judgments, then I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore because that's what X, Y, and Z things. Why do you care so much about what other people think if you know that you feel called out to do certain things in your life? If you want to, open up a business, do it. If you want to create a new Instagram account and, be a content creator, freaking do it. Like, honestly, no one actually cares. Yeah, sometimes people talk about you, but that's just life. And are you really going to let that get in the way of you pursuing things that you really want to do? If you don't try, you don't know. At the end of the day, their judgments and opinions of you is none of your business. And the only person that cares about me is myself. Like, I'm the one person who cares about the way I look, the way I dress, the way I speak, the way I do things in life. Like, me, it's me. So, what other people think is essentially their own opinions and judgments. So let them be. Like, honestly, just let them. And the next thing that I wish I knew in my 20s is that comparison is the thief of joy. And I'm pretty sure you've heard this quote once, at least in your life, or if not, you've experienced this before, but comparing yourself to other people will rob you of your joy. Honestly, sometimes you're content with your life, but the moment you see someone else's life doing better, you start to compare your life to that person. And that is seriously really toxic. And if you think about it now, before social media, how we compare ourselves essentially is from our family, school, friends, and after that, you have social media, and that makes it worse because when you have social media, your comparison comes from yourself because you put yourself in a situation where you're doom scrolling and, looking at other people's profile that you compare yourself to. Let's say if that person is the same age as you or maybe younger than you and is so-called doing better than you, like, oh my gosh, like that person bought like a penthouse and like it's living in a different country, blah, blah, blah. And look at me, like, what am I doing now? And I'm not gonna lie, like, even now that I've turned 31, I still think about it sometimes. Like, I think it's only natural as humans, we tend to compare our lives to other people's highlight reels just because you always feel like there's something better out there. There's something much more than what I'm doing now, which is true. There's so many more things which can appear to be much more amazing than the life that you're living at right now. But if you are currently content with the life that you have, then I think that's okay. Like, don't compare yourself to other people, especially when You compare your looks to other people, you compare your finances to other people, you compare like the houses that you lived with other people. It can get really exhausting if you do it all the time, and the energy that is being used to compare can actually be used to work on yourself. And that's something that I genuinely have learned in my 20s, is that when you compare your life to other people, you tend to get envious, and jealousy is not a nice look, let me tell you. It's really unattractive, and there's types of jealousy where you're like, okay, you know what? I'm kind of envious of that person. But you know what? If that person can do it, I can do it. Like that jealousy turns into something inspiring. You're like, you know what? That person inspires me to do X, Y, and Z. But if whenever you tend to look at that person, you're like, oh, you know, like you feel this really intense jealousy, especially on social media, please unfollow them or mute them or block them. Like, because it's not good for your mental health. Like you need to work on yourself instead of like focusing on what other people are doing. I think when it starts from young, depending on your upbringing, the way you surround yourself in your environment, your childhood or whatever. I guess for me, like being in Asian household, you go to this family gatherings and you know, you have your aunties and your uncles, and I'm pretty sure we all have that one person in the family that would just like say shit to your face. It's like they're comfortable enough to tell you like, hey, guess what? Like this person is doing way better than you. This person has this and you don't. Like, yeah, we all know, okay? We all have that one person in the family. And it's just, to me, I find it really fascinating to this day that they are so comfortable and okay with, you know, doing that blatantly into your face. And I think my hope is that I don't want to transform into that really old, annoying, grumpy auntie. Or not even just grumpy, like just like annoying, you know? I don't want to be like that annoying, insensitive auntie that criticizes and compares my nieces and nephews to other people blatantly in front of them. Like, why would you do that? So, yeah. That sounds really personal, doesn't it? But I don't know. Maybe you guys can relate or let me know in the comments. Yeah, but again, do not compare yourself to other people. You're just wasting your energy, but instead redirect your energy to yourself. And that's what I wish I knew in my 20s, because I spent a little bit too much time comparing myself to other people. Now, the next thing is about investing. And I know that whenever people talk about investment, they automatically think about, oh, you know, invest in stocks, invest in bonds, invest in bitcoins, invest in real estate. Like, everything about investment is money, but one of the most important things that you should invest on is in yourself. And I know this sounds really cheesy, like, oh, yeah, of course, invest in yourself. But like, honestly, the best investment that you can do right now is in yourself, regardless of what age you are. When I say invest in yourself, I want you to be the best version of yourself that you can at this point in time. Whether that is upgrading your skills, whether that is taking care of your health. Basically, investing in yourself is taking charge of your life. And that is something that I learned throughout the process of my 20s, but I did not really fully understand. Like, when people say invest in yourself, I'm like, haha, yeah, easy for you to say because you are probably fucking rich. And it's just funny how the word investment tends to relate to money, when actually investment is the time that you put in towards something that will make it better over time. So when you invest yourself and you put in the work 1% every single day, the more reps you put in, you just get better in it. One of the things that you can invest on is to work on your skills, depending on, you know, what you are passionate about, what are your interests, and not just things that can make you money, but things that you can bring into real life experiences, you know, like even speaking, like even talking in front of people and socializing, that takes skills. Like personally, I used to think like, you know, oh, I'm such an introvert, you know, I keep things to myself, I can't go to social gatherings and talk to people, blah, blah, blah. But as I get older, I realize like, hey, like stop using that as an excuse, because you need to tap into this skill of learning how to talk to other people, even if that makes you feel uncomfortable. It only feels uncomfortable because you think you suck at it. And maybe you do suck at it. So that's the thing. You can actually change it and you can learn, and everything is a skill. Even being confident is a skill. Like people think, you know, oh, that person is just born with confidence. No, they're not. Like, okay, maybe they are. Okay, some people, maybe they're really special. They're born with confidence because their upbringing makes them confident. But Some people are not. And it is a skill that can be learned. It's not something that you cannot possess at all. And also invest in health as well. This is one thing I wish I had started earlier. I grew up with a really bad body image. I remember looking at myself when I was young. I was like, oh my gosh, like I thought at that point of time I was massive, like I was huge. And then when I look back at the photos now, I'm like, what were you thinking? Like, you look fine, dude. Like, why do you put so much stress on yourself? And I think because of the mindset that comes with, health, it all really depends on the way that you are being brought up and in what era or generation you're being born in. Because if you think about it now, it's almost like a trend. Like, it used to be like, oh, everyone is skinny, like Kate Moss or like the Olsen twins. And then, oh, everyone wants to be like Kim Kardashian with a big butt and like all the curves. Now everyone's like, okay, I'm in my Pilates era. Everyone wants to be really toned and elongated and slim. It comes and goes. Like, because of these trends, sometimes you can't help but develop that unhealthy mindset when it comes to health. For me, I really had to unlearn and learn a lot of things. And I'm still doing that along the way. Like, for all the things that I'm learning right now, I won't even apply it as I get older because I don't believe in it anymore. So because of all those things, I really had to dial down and learn what works specifically for my body, because I realized that everyone's body type can tolerate different things and everyone is just different. It's not like a one size fits all, When I started really investing in my health, I could really see the difference. And I truly do stand by this, that if you do not take care of your physical health, your mental health will suffer as well. And if you don't take care of your mental health, your physical health is going to suffer. Both of these things are correlated as much as you don't want it to be. Because I remember back in 2018, I was like under a lot of like chronic stress. I was borderline, like I feel really miserable and depressed. And I guess I would use those words lightly because I know some people are clinically depressed and I don't want to just, use the words anyhow, but I just didn't like the way I was living my life, the way I carried myself, the way I looked, and things were just happening in my life personally, and I just wasn't happy at all. Like, I borderline wasn't happy, and my body was actually showing me. I was gaining a lot of weight. I lost my period. I did not have period for about, I think, 8 months, and then suddenly I would have my period come and I would bleed for like, I think 2 months or something. And I know it sounds really bad. All this to say that once I took charge of my health, I got a regular menstrual cycle, and that says a lot. And that's when I realized enough is enough. Like, I felt so uncomfortable. And I remember one day at work where I was just like, I can't, like my cramps are so bad, and like it was such heavy flow and it was just not fucking great, that's for sure. But enough is enough. I decided to take charge of my health. I eventually learned many things. Like, I'm sure there were methods that I did that were not as healthy, but it was a stepping stone to get into the healthy path, if you know what I mean. I started to move my body, even if it meant just going on walks or jogs or following like workouts on YouTube videos. And I even started to eat healthy. And I remember I was in my medical medium era. If you don't know who medical medium is, check him out. He's known for his celery juice methods, but at the point in time, celery was expensive and I was broke as fuck. So I just drank cucumber juice instead, which he also recommended. And I was like obsessed with it at that point in time. And, slowly I learned how to take care of my body, what movement is like. And then pandemic happened. And the more I started to, look into health and wellness, and I won't say fix myself, I guess heal myself. And even now, like, I'm not gonna lie, I did gain back some of the weight because I did went through like a weight loss period in my life. And then because I started my own freelancing business, I got stressed. That's when I gained weight. I neglected my health. And you can see that when you are stressed and you still persist and push through, your body is going to tell you, your body is going to give you signs. And that is when you know that you have to listen to your body. And I'm specifically talking to women because as women, when we have imbalance in our hormones, it is hard to function in life. Let's just be honest, because I've been there and I'm still working on it, but it's definitely better than last time. So Again, I know this is a little bit too long, but the best investment that you can make is in yourself, whether it is in your mental health, in your physical health, in the skills, things that you know will make you a better person in all those areas in your life. Take the actual time to actually work on yourself, because that is the best investment that you can give to yourself. And the next thing that I wish I knew in my 20s is that I wish I would have learned how to say no. Like, honestly, practice saying no. Being a recovering people pleaser myself, I find it really hard to say no to certain things. And especially when it comes from people that I care in my life, when it comes from friends, it comes from family, you tend to say yes to everything because, hey, we love each other. We take care of each other. Of course, I'm going to say yes, even though I have a million other things on my plate and I know I physically and mentally cannot take it, I will still say yes. And that also made me realize that you shouldn't agree with everything. Like, honestly, if you know in your heart and in your gut that you cannot take it, say no. I realized that saying yes to everything made my life worse. And you really have to be honest with yourself. Like, maybe your plate isn't full, but then you know that it's not something that you want to do, you can just say no. Like, there is nothing wrong with doing that. And I used to say yes to everything because I would feel guilty if I said no. And I would feel like, oh, that person might think that I'm selfish and so unreliable. And the thing is, you have to think about why you feel that way when situations like this come up. Like, okay, why do you feel unreliable? Like, for all you know, that person doesn't think of it as that way. That person just thinks, oh, okay, like, you can't do it. Okay, it's fine. I'll find someone else. Just because you don't feel comfortable saying no doesn't mean that you have to take up whatever it is that is being passed along to you. I know it's way deeper than this, but like, honestly, practice saying no has definitely helped me a lot in life. And I'm instilling boundaries in my life, not just with people, but also with myself, because there are times where I just go over the limit of certain things and I know that it doesn't feel right with me. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, when you grow older, you start to realize the things that you like and you don't like, the things that you tolerate and you don't tolerate. I remember this quote where someone said, like, whatever you're tolerating, you're choosing. So I'll just leave it with that. But the next thing that I wish I knew in my 20s is that rejection is redirection. And I know this saying is pretty popular nowadays, but it cannot be further from the truth, because honestly, when you are being rejected, whether it is from your dream job, from your dream partner, or like, I don't know, many things, okay? Those are the two things that comes up at the top of my head. When one door closes, another door opens. Like, trust me on this. Like, I used to think it is so stupid when people say, yeah, easy for you to say when you're not the one getting rejected. I think the only time it feels bad to get rejected is because, one, you've been wanting that thing so much. Like, you think that once you get it, it's going to be like perfect and it's going to be like the best day ever because, you know, that person of being accepts you. But the moment you're being rejected, obviously it doesn't feel nice. Like, nobody likes being rejected. Being rejected also can make you feel like you are unworthy on certain things. Maybe it's just me, but I do feel like when I'm being rejected, I used to think, oh, I guess no one likes me. I guess that person doesn't think I'm qualified. I think they might have found a better person. Like, I guess I'm just not worthy at all. You know, I'm not capable. And you just assume the worst out of things. And I guess this can also be really difficult when it comes to, let's say, a relationship. Let's say you're dating someone and then you really, really like that person, but that person doesn't reciprocate the same feelings as you do. Just think for a second. Would you want something that doesn't want you? Like, I want you to get up and stand for yourself and know that you are a worthy person, because you don't want to chase things. You attract things that want you. Whenever you are rejected, just know that there is something out there that is meant for you. What is that saying that people say? Everything happens for a reason, and what is meant for you will not pass by you. If things are meant for you, for some reason, it will always find a way to get back to you. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about people, I'm also talking about opportunities as well. Ultimately, do not force things. It should come naturally, because when it comes naturally, it's awesome. But when you force it, it doesn't feel nice. you know? And the final thing that I wish I knew in my 20s is that I wish I would have just slowed the fuck down. Like, honestly, there is no rush. Take your time. You have all the time in the world, honestly. What is the rush? What are you rushing for? I find that I was rushing all the time. I thought that I had to be, at a certain point in my life by a certain age. And the thing is, it's like you put this unrealistic or maybe unnecessary expectations or deadlines on yourself. Because think about it, like sometimes, I don't know about you, but for me, I would put this expectation that by the time I turn 25, I would already be married, buy a house, I would have a car, I would have 2 kids, and my career would be great. That's what I thought I wanted, And when I reached 25, I'm like, oh, honestly, looking back, I don't think I would be ready for it, or it's not what I want. Your plans and your expectations and your goals can change over time. Like, you can target to reach something somewhere at a certain age. And then as you're doing it in the process, you realize, you know what, it's not something that I really want to do. And that's okay. Like, I don't want you to demonize like pivoting your life. I don't want you to think that, oh no, like because I decide to change my mind, then I cannot do that. Like, okay, why is it that you cannot do that? Like, think about it. Is it because you're afraid what other people might think of you? They think like, oh, you said that you wanted to do this, but at this age and you're still not there, or like maybe you're close to being there. Why are you sabotaging yourself and ruining it if that's what you want? But then you realize it's actually not what you want. So all this to say that slowing down is so essential, because when you are in your 20s, you have all the time in your world. Like, it is a time where you can experiment. It is a time you can make mistakes, dumb mistakes even, like things where you're just like, wait, what? Why did you do that? And I have to say that this does not only apply in your 20s. I always need to emphasize this even to myself, that we always give ourselves these unnecessary titles and deadlines to a certain age. If you think that you should be doing this by at this age, you are considered successful. You've considered like, oh, you've actually lived your life. But what is actually the definition of living your life that you want? Because different people have different definitions of reaching certain goals, of living their life, and that's okay. So that brings me to the end of the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know if any of the points resonated with you, and if you are in your 20s, like what are some takeaways that you found, and let's say you are over your 20s, like, let me know what are some of the things that you wish you knew when you were in your 20s, because I know that we're all a student of life. We are constantly learning and growing. So I think it'll be great if you could share your, any lessons or stories in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll end the episode here. And if you enjoy consuming content like this, if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, I would really be grateful if you could leave a good rating. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.